Recently, cyclists seem to be bearing the brunt of a new kind of road rage. But drivers might say that cyclists who choose to cycle on the road are responsible for all of this, because cyclists who act like they own the roads do deserve all of this anger. Why can't the roads be shared peacefully? After all, the vast majority of road users, which includes drivers, motorcyclists, and cyclists, are law-by-law good citizens who follow the rules. There's a deeper reason behind all this conflict. The road rules on cycling don't always make sense. So there are actually several rules under the Road Traffic Act relating to cycling on the roads. But these rules can be confusing and aren't always 100% clear on how cyclists and cars should interact on the roads. Sometimes strictly abiding by the rules can put them at even more risk instead. Here's a couple of scenarios to demonstrate this. This is Sigel. Sigel is a cyclist who wants to make a right turn. According to the road traffic bicycles rules, cyclists should keep as near as practicable to the far left edge of the road. So Sigel, following the rules, is keeping left until he approaches a junction where he wants to turn right. In order to do that, the cyclist needs to be on a turning lane, and so he starts to signal his intention to go towards the right. But there are a few options that the cyclist can take up while waiting for the turn. Option A is for him to wait at the left edge of the middle lane. Or B, he can wait in the center of the middle lane instead. C would be to be at the right lane. Option D, he could simply use the pedestrian crossing. So what's the best choice? So it seems like most drivers prefer option D. The problem is that option D is not always available because there isn't a pedestrian crossing at every turning junction. For option A, Sigel stays on the left side of the middle lane. He will be following the rules exactly, but this can feel quite unsafe because there could be vehicles going straight on both the left and the middle lane. He might choose option B instead and put himself in the center of the middle lane. This means that while waiting for the green arrow to turn right, cars behind the cyclist might want to go straight and will be annoyed that they have to wait for the cyclist who seems to be hogging the entire second lane. So it seems like the best option for Sigel is option C, which is actually also the safest choice while waiting for the lights to change. However, he would technically be breaking the rule about keeping as far left as possible. And this would also create another problem for the cyclist after turning right. From the right lane, the cyclist needs to keep right while turning. Meanwhile, cars which turn right from the middle lane would end up on his left, and then the cyclist would have to cross their path to get back to the left side of the road. And all of this can easily become an out-of-context dashcam video of cyclists riding in the middle of the road for seemingly no good reason. Here's another situation where cyclists may find themselves inadvertently cycling in the middle of the road, even though they followed all the rules. How is this possible? It happens when flyovers merge into the road. By the way, cyclists can cycle on flyovers.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Didn't a guy get fined for cycling on a highway?
He was fined for cycling on an expressway. The difference is that an expressway is usually a place where the speed limit will be like 90 km per hour. But a highway, for example, West Coast Highway, Lornie Highway, the speed limit is 70.
Wait, cyclists can cycle on Lornie Highway?
Yeah. Have I cycled on Lornie Highway? Yeah, I have. The road splits and then the left side goes to PIE, right? Yeah, so you just have to make sure that you get onto the right lane. Here's Sigel again. This time he's merging back onto the road after coming down from a flyover, which is allowed, by the way. Remember that rule about cyclists keeping as near as practicable to the left? It applies here as well. And this time, the cyclist actually only has one choice, which is to continue cycling between these two lanes until it's safe to head back to the left side of the left lane. And this might be one of the reasons why drivers might see cyclists all over the road sometimes. These are just two scenarios where things can get confusing for both drivers and cyclists. But there's also debate about cycling in pairs or two abreast. The highway code says that cyclists should ride in single file when possible. But we also have the road traffic bicycles rules, which allow cyclists to ride in twos, except on single lane roads and on bus lanes during bus lane hours. However, the rules do not say that cyclists have to give way. If two cyclists were to be cruising down the bus lane at peak hour, you have to dig deep into the road traffic rules to find the rule that says every vehicle shall at all times be driven in such manner as to not obstruct vehicles moving at a faster speed. Alternatively, you might say that they are violating the Road Traffic Act by using the road without reasonable consideration for other persons. It's also an issue where cyclists decide that they want to be pedestrians as and when it's convenient for them. And we haven't even talked about large groups. Since 2022, a maximum of 10 cyclists can ride together in a group. But not everyone follows the rule, and there can be severe consequences. And no, I'm not talking about the $150 fine. In the midst of all this ambiguity, those on the asphalt just want to point out who's at fault. On one hand, drivers say that cyclists don't even belong on the roads in the first place. But on the other hand, cyclists say that drivers need to be more careful and considerate and stop being so entitled. Who knows when this cycle of blame and frustration will end? For now, perhaps we can try to take the high road, be considerate to each other, and learn to share.